In this video, I'm going to explain how insulin resistance can lead to PCOS and fibroid. And I'm going to explain what insulin resistance is, what PCOS is, and what fibroid is. So PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. This polycystic ovarian syndrome is a syndrome whereby your follicles in your ovary that are supposed to hold mature egg, instead they're holding very immature eggs that looks like fluid, that contains fluid, because there's lack of estrogen in your body to be able to mature your eggs. While fibroids are abnormal cell growth in your womb that feed mainly on estrogen and progesterone, causing you to have low estrogen that is enough to even mature your egg in the first place. All right. So now I'm talking about insulin resistance, and that can cause you to have PCOS and fibroid. So what is insulin resistance? Insulin resistance is when your body can no longer make use of glucose, causing the pancreas to increase a larger amount of insulin into the body. You're going to have a whole lot of insulin in your blood, and that can lead to having high content of unused insulin in the body. So what is high insulin does is that it will go to the liver. When it gets to the liver, it will go and stop the sex hormone binding globulin. These are globulins that bind to the sex hormone, which is the estrogen and testosterone. So what this high insulin does is that it will stop the sex hormone binding, globulin from binding to these sex hormones. And if this globulin, this binder, we call it binder, this binder can't bind to this free estrogen and testosterone found in the body, they will start moving around the body. That means you have leading to free bioactive estrogen in the bloodstream. So now we have active estrogen in the body that can actually affect the womb. The womb, that's the uterine walls. It can actually affect the womb and cause abnormal cell growth inside the womb. And this fibroid is known as abnormal cell growth in your womb, and it can happen in anywhere inside your womb. So let me explain again. This high insulin will go to the liver, and when it gets to the liver, it will tell the sex hormone binding globulin, we call it binder, that don't bind to estrogen and don't bind to testosterone. Any estrogen and testosterone you see in the body, don't bind to it, leave it. And once you have free bioactive estrogen in the body, they're going to go straight to your womb and act on the uterine wall, causing you to have abnormal cell growth, which is fibroid in your womb. So this is the number one cause of fibroid in your womb. So this fibroid, what they do is that they will actively feed on your estrogen. And once they actively feed on your estrogen, there's no way you're going to ovulate. There's no way you're going to ovulate, because you actually need ovulation. You actually need ovulation to be able to release matured egg into the fallopian tube where fertilization can take place. So this fibroid will cause you to have low level of estrogen in your body. All right. So this is how it affects the womb and cause you to have fibroid. So now I'm going to explain how it affects a woman to have PCOS. So this high insulin, in other hands, it affects the ovary directly, causing you to overwork it and produce androgen, which in turn convert to testosterone, which is the male hormone. That's when you start seeing people with PCOS having hairs in their beards and all that, fat in their body. So this is what causes it, because there's an override of the ovary by high insulin. Because on a normal day, your ovary ought to be able to produce enough estrogen to be able to mature your egg. So when there is an override, this is what will happen. So you'll be having high amount of testosterone in your body, which is the male hormone, and there's no way you'd be able to ovulate with this, and this will cause you not to be able to be fertile. So I hope you understand, and I hope this helps someone. So let me just give a quick summary. So insulin resistance is when your body no longer know how to use glucose, how to store glucose. And once the pancreas detects that there's so much glucose in the body, it will start producing insulin. And when there's high insulin in excess, it will go straight to your liver and stop this sex hormone binding globulin from binding to free estrogen and testosterone in your body. And when you have free bioactive estrogen in your body, they will go to your womb and start producing abnormal cell growth in your womb. And this is what they call fibroid. And these fibroids feed mainly on estrogen. And once they feed mainly on estrogen, it will be very difficult for you to ovulate, and that will cause you not to have matured egg that needs to be fertilized. All right. So in the other hand, this high insulin also acts directly on the ovary. And when it acts directly on the ovary, it will put this ovary to too much stress that it won't even have time to even convert androgen to estrogen. Instead, to convert androgen to testosterone straight up. And once there's so much testosterone in your body, you'll be able to ovulate, neither would you be fertile. So this is the cause of insulin resistance. So whenever someone is saying that you're insulin resistant, that means your body no longer know how to use glucose, thereby causing so much insulin in your body and at that point it will start affecting your womb and your ovary and everything that has to do with your sex organs. I hope this helps someone. Thank you. If you've been diagnosed with PCOS and fibroid, what you want to do is to intentionally decrease your intake of glucose, anything carbohydrates, artificial sugar, you want to go minimal on that as much as possible. And some food seasoning too, they can be very high in sugar. You want to go low on that if you have been diagnosed with PCOS and fibroid. Also, you want to, in my video earlier, I stated ewedu. Ewedu also helps. Ewedu, yes, that our local ewedu. It also helps with PCOS and fibroid because it produces, this ewedu produce something called polyphenol. And this polyphenol will stop the action of the enzyme responsible for breaking down starch in our body. So this enzyme will not be able to break down glucose effectively in the body because there's this thing called polyphenol produced by the ewedu. So if there's no breakdown of so much sugar in the body, your body will be able to control the amount of glucose being absorbed into the bloodstream. Without, you'll be having less spike of sugar, thereby causing the pancreas not to overwork itself in producing so much amount of insulin. So there'll be a balance of glucose and insulin in your body. Another way it can help is to move a lot. You want to exercise. You want to make sure that your put your muscle into into work so that they can use up glucose in your body. And if they're able to use up the glucose in your body, the pancreas won't have the surge to produce more insulin. So you want to put that into place. So you want to get your diary into place. And I hope this helps someone. See you in my next video. Bye.